Volleyball is a hard sport to learn. It's a hard sport to play, but it's not impossible. There's just kind of some different ways to teach it where kids can, not even know that they're learning the game.
Mm. Hi everyone, this is Mari Silva at NVVA, and we're back today with our Volleyball 101. Today we're going to be talking about starting at a young age and also playing multiple sports. Our guest today is Amy Opsal. Amy is a former college player and coach, and today she works here at NVVA with us as our program director. Hi Amy, how are you doing today?
Good. Day 49, 48,
49 for
50
us.
Of quarantine.
Looking forward to be back on the court.
Yeah, watching the news, everything's looking good. People are doing what they're supposed to, so it really helps us get back.
Yes, we're excited to be back at it. So as I mentioned before, so today we're going to be talking about starting at a young age and how important it is, and also playing multiple sports, not specializing in one sport really early, just being open to playing multiple sports until you get older and you decide to follow one path. So just starting here, how did you start playing volleyball? What got you into it and that kind of stuff? How did you start?
When I started playing volleyball, I was in fifth or sixth grade, and my mom was in charge of the community education. So anything that happened in that age went through her. So anything that was created, from soccer to basketball to volleyball to track and field day, I participated in, no matter what it was, which really helped me find. In high school, I was a 3-sport athlete, so I got to try all of these different things before I decided on my fall sport was going to be volleyball, my winter sport was going to be basketball, and my spring sport was going to be soccer. I did have a stint in softball, but all I really liked to do was run the bases. I didn't really like to field, and I didn't really like to hit, so that didn't work out.
So yeah, that was my next question. So you always played multiple sports until college, right? You played multiple sports in high school as well?
Yeah, I did. I was pretty, it was a pretty good schedule to have. So, every single fall, I just already knew I was going to play volleyball. It wasn't really a question. My school was also really small, so we didn't cut anybody from our team. So it was if you go out and play volleyball, you're going to make the team. So it was kind of a nice thing to have. Basketball was every winter. It's a really long season. Looking back, it's possibly one thing I maybe would have stopped once I found my passion for volleyball and decided to play in college. But then track and field was in the spring and also during kind of the height of club volleyball season. So it was a big compliment to my game, being able to, just have that training every day through track and then just go to volleyball practice and play volleyball.
So it's interesting because I come from Brazil, so for us, we don't really have seasons. Spring we're gonna play this sport, and then in the fall we're gonna play this sport. It's just every sport is all year around. So if we wanna play multiple sports, we have to practice and play 2-3 sports in the same day in the same season. So I think it's a little bit harder for us. We usually, I play multiple sports. I play tennis, soccer, and volleyball being the main two. But it's harder for us to maintain that life, playing multiple sports at the same time, because it's all year round. We don't really have a break between seasons or between sports. So I think it's a bigger challenge for us. But I love it here that we have everything is planned so the kids can play multiple sports at the same time and without compromising too much the sport. So I think it's a really nice system that you guys have here in the U.S. that allow the kids to play multiple sports.
Yeah, it was great. It definitely prepared me for college, kind of already having that time management and already having kind of those strategies in place to figure out how to navigate through, having a big ramp up of volleyball training and also a heavier course load and workload compared to high school. So that was one thing I really took away from being a multi-sport athlete. And then just in general, just staying in shape. It was not, I did basketball, which is a lot of running, and track, which is a lot of running. So I think that just complemented my volleyball in endurance and agility and just adaptiveness to different situations.
Yes, and that's another thing too, because especially at a young age, playing multiple sports might help you with whatever you do on the court. So maybe you already know that you want to play volleyball or basketball, whatever the sport it is. But playing multiple sports is going to help you with agility and footwork and coordination. So even if when you're young, even if you know you don't want to play that sport, it's always a good idea to keep an open mind and just play for fun, different things, so you can learn different skills that might help you in the future with your career.
Yeah, and it for sure gives you this nice base layer just to have a hobby. Like I'm definitely would consider myself now a sports fan, like whatever it is, if it's golf, if it's biking, if it's football, if it's basketball, if it's soccer, like I'm very interested in the strategy and the athlete training and just like the experience of going to a game. Because I was exposed to all those different sports, it made me really admire and appreciate that at the professional level as a fan.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I feel the same way. Even when I was younger, I loved to watch different sports. I remember, of course, in Brazil, we don't have winter sports, we don't have snow. And the first time I watched curling on TV, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I didn't know anything about the sport. We never have that in Brazil. But I was so into it and wanted to learn more the strategies and why would you do what you were doing. So I was always into it and trying to understand whatever sport I was watching. So that was always really fun for me to be involved in different sports. Even if I didn't play them, I always liked to watch them and understand why the players were doing what they were doing. Yeah, and even I know that when we go to college or even professional careers, it gets harder for us to play multiple sports because we get busier with schoolwork and maybe even if you have an extra job. But even though if you like multiple sports, you still have the chance to play. There's many examples of really successful athletes that play both sports. We have an example, an actual example here now with the setter at Stanford. She was a 3-time All-American, 3-time national champion, and she was also an All-American throwing the javelin. So I'm pretty sure it was a really hard life for her to go to school and playing at the highest level possible for volleyball, and then ending her season and going right into the track and field season. So I'm sure it was a really hard life for her, but it's still possible to do both. If you love both sports, and you can still try to play at a higher level in multiple sports too.
Yeah, I come from the Division III background. So when I went to college, I did volleyball and track. So kind of the same schedule. Jenna Gray, however, is a fantastic volleyball player and a fantastic javelin thrower. I would say my skills were pretty adequate, but same thing. It was nice to have that schedule and that training regimen, and also having just the various team dynamics too, because I was the only one that did both. So I had my volleyball team and my volleyball family there, but then on the track team I kind of played a different role because that team was so big, and we all had different events. So it was kind of fun to figure out how to have leadership positions, but then also just be a teammate with those different personalities and dynamics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure it was a challenge, but I'm sure it helped you a lot as well.
Yeah, it definitely, I'm a people person. I like meeting new people. I like being a leader. I like starting the conversations, and it's definitely attributed to playing multiple sports and having exposure to all those situations.
Yeah, and another example that I always like too is because she played in Brazil for some clubs in Brazil. It's Destiny Hooker. I think she played for Texas in 2009. Back in college, she was a high jumper. I believe like during her college time, she had the mark to make it to the Olympics if she wanted to, but she chose to stick with volleyball. And but she played in Brazil for like a few years, so I really like that player, and she was also like a high jumper, like probably better than anyone else in the world. So it was awesome to see her. And I mean, she was a high jumper, so that also helped her in volleyball. Of course, she could touch over 10.5 probably.
I clearly remember watching that national championship game of Texas and Stanford.
And I believe they just showed it again, like the NCAA Facebook. They've been showing some games. And I think last week they showed that game again.
And she, like, they kept talking about how she was a 4-time national high jump champion.
Yeah.
And ironically, I also tuned in to NVVA coach Nanda, Olympic gold medalist, watched that game. And Destiny Hooker was also playing.
She was playing
in that
there,
game.
right? Yes.
And they still talked about how just an amazing college athlete she was playing those two sports.
Yes, it's amazing to see it. I mean, some people, they can just do everything, and one sport translates to the other, and they keep getting better like that, playing multiple sports at the same time. Yeah. So next year we can talk like getting more specific, but talk about like different positions on the court. Just like we're talking about playing multiple sports, it's important to start like at a young age and being with an open mind and learning every single position on the court before you get older and maybe specialize in one position. So maybe talk about you, like how did you start? Did you start right away being a libero, or you try different positions? How was your beginning on the court?
Yeah, so kind of in my beginning time, my developmental area, we definitely just rotated around in a circle. So basically almost until that 8th grade area, so 5th, 6th, 7th grade, it was definitely like the sampler of positions. So 5th and 6th, we rotated in a circle. You just played your area because you didn't really, like, we don't really block, and those setters always in the front row. So that was kind of nice just to figure out court awareness, or, you know, how hard do I have to hit the ball to get it to the setter or over the net. So just kind of having that court awareness. And then 7th and 8th grade was definitely the sampler of positions, where we never really had like position training. You kind of tried them all out, and every game you had, you're like, what position am I playing today? So just, I think our coach did, maybe even subconsciously, a good job at just shifting people around, probably for their own sake to manage playing time. But in turn, they were letting us kind of try the different areas. We didn't really have the libero at that time. It speaks, I'm young, but I'm a little bit older. So if you did rotate into the back, you had to sub out or play all the way around.
Yeah, I think mine was kind of the same. Even like not only for me, but in Brazil, we usually just rotate around, like 6 rotation. You play every position until you get older. Then we start going to like rotations, 4-2, 6-2, 5-1, whatever the rotation is. But I think in general in Brazil, that's how we start. We just go around playing every position, which I think it can be really helpful because, you know, if you specialize in one position at a young age, let's say you're 12-year-old and you decided you want to be a middle blocker, then the only thing you're going to learn is like hitting and blocking. You're not going to be able to pass the ball or serve or whatever it is. So I think it's important for young kids to have an open mind and just try everything, especially because when you're 12, maybe you're tall for your age, but then you stop growing. And when you're 18, you realize that you're short and you might change positions, or vice versa. Maybe you're short when you're 12 and then you grow out of nowhere and you become the biggest person on your team. So I think it's important for the kids to keep an open mind and just learn all the fundamentals first. And then once you're older, you see what you want to do or you like to do or what you're good at, then you go forward and pick a position for you on the court.
Yeah, I would say I was definitely kind of like forced into a position when I started to get into high school. They needed a setter and nobody wanted to do it. So I kind of stepped into that role, and it stuck with me for all 4 years of high school. it was great because I got to get really good at it and I set a few records. But then at the same time, when I hit like my junior and senior year, we needed an outside sometimes. So like we'd change our rotation and then I would hit outside, but then we could change it back and then I would set. So just being able to be open to that area where maybe I was a really good setter, but we needed to score. So then I would play left side, but it gave the opportunity for another girl to go in and set. So then when I graduated and was gone, that player knew what to do.
And that's another point too. I mean, it's volleyball. It's a team sport. So I think it's important for us to be able to help our team. Sometimes you're going to have a different role than you're imagining just to help your team. I have an example, too, of myself. I was a middle blocker primarily, but in my sophomore year, I was playing for this junior college in Kansas, and we lost our setter maybe 1 month before preseason. So someone needed to set. We didn't have time to recruit anybody else. So my coach came to me and asked, can you at least try to set? And I didn't even think about it. I was like, yeah, sure. I have no idea how to do it, but I'll figure it out. So, yeah, like in 2 weeks of preseason, I was still playing as a middle, just like you said. I was playing as a middle in the front row, and then rotating the back row, I would be a setter. So I was doing two jobs at the same time. But, I mean, it was awesome. Like, he helped me grow as a player. He helped our team, our coach, like, gain some confidence in me. So I think it's pretty good not only for me as a player individually, but also for my team. Like, I was doing something, thinking about them, and how can I help them? We need a setter here. If I say no, it's going to be bad for my team because nobody else is going to do it. So I think it's always really important to think about your team. Like, what can I do to help them? And being able to play in multiple positions is gonna help your team get better forward.
Yeah, and in that coach perspective, kind of putting your coach hat on, you have to know your players. So if you kind of want to run that fluid and really dynamic rotation, like when you're playing in the middle and then you come back and you're a setter, you have to have players that really are open to playing different positions and understand how to rotate. Otherwise, you really have to be very traditional where you want to run a 4-2, meaning you have the setters always in the front row, or you're going to do a 5-1 where there's only one setter. They play 3 rotations in the back, 3 in the front, or the ever dynamic 6-2, which is, you have your 2 setters. They typically play in the back row and they sub out for right side. But even those traditional systems can be morphed and merge depending on your team and how dynamic they are.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. So now, since we're talking about playing with positions and like at a young age, just keeping an open mind, let's talk about the little ones here. Like here in NVVA, we have a lot of fun with our programs that are directed to the little ones. And you're the program director for us here, so you're the one who run everything. So let's just touch base like a little real quick about our Volley Juniors and Youth Academy. How do you like those programs?
Yeah, so our Volley Juniors and Youth Academy is really catered to our ages. I would say 7 or 8. We do have some very talented 5 and 6-year-olds who are often younger sisters, all the way to age 12. So these classes really cater to just getting to know the skills, getting to know the vocabulary. So like, what's the serving line? What's the attack line? Can you touch the net? Where's the antenna? Because we really find that once you build that vocabulary, court awareness is when kids really start to understand how the game is played. Mm.
Yeah, just how we mentioned before, like at this really young age, we don't even focus on anything but like learning the very basic fundamentals, just like passing, setting, maybe serving, like underhand even. So that's like the basics for them, is just to get on the court and have fun and not really worry about, learning a specific position. It's just to learn the sport, even like the vocabulary. What is, I don't know, a pancake? What is a block? And that kind of stuff. So it's really very basic, and the kids usually have a lot of fun. Like we have fun coaching them because it's like a complete different environment for us. There's no winning or losing or competing. It's just learning and having fun and getting to know other kids. So it's always I think it's a fun age to start because it's just like, let's play for fun and let's have a good time here and go home.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, in my opinion, as a coach, a player, and a programs director, everyone should be in a volleyball class before you're on a volleyball team, just to get the feeling of the ball and the court and how the game is played and what skills there are, because it's very different to watch. So if you watch as a family, or if you played as mom and dad and you're like, oh, I want my kid to play, they definitely need to attend a volleyball class before they play on a team.
Yeah, and here we even have volleyball classes for adults, right? So if you're a mom and dad and you want to put your kid on a class or on a team, but you don't know anything about the game, you can even like come to us and learn the basics yourself, and then put your kids on the court as well.
Yeah, our volleyball parents, I would say we've had maybe 5 or 6 that have definitely come to class, and I don't think they have told their child that they're in the class. They just wanted to learn kind of the basics, so then when they're at home, they can play together, they can talk about it, they, feel more informed when they go to a tournament or they watch a game. So yeah, that's a great example. Mom and dad, get in a class.
You can also learn. Yeah, and even for the little ones, sometimes maybe the parents have a really little kid that they're still like scared to let them play because they might get hurt. But even for the little ones, we have some adaptations for them, such like lighter balls, like lower nets, maybe like smaller courts, and everything that we can do to actually help them. Even like when we're trying to play, not 6-on-6, but try to play a game, it's more like catching and throwing than, passing the ball. So it's really like safe for the kids, even if they're really young. The parents can bring them anytime because they're going to have a good time and they're going to be safe on the court.
Yeah, we often let, for our little ones, parents can come and watch. And again, another great example of them learning what this sport is about, or maybe learning how to teach it when they go home. Just having the lighter ball, lower net, smaller court, and even, our most famous game, smash ball, where we let the kids catch the ball sometimes. So they don't always have to be really pressured to, pass it or set it. Like they could catch it and toss it and then perform a volleyball skill.
Yeah.
Or toss it to their teammate.
Right. And they usually love that. It's just like so fun for them. You can see that they're enjoying, and all they want to do is play that game and know the games that we have for them.
Yeah, and I think we took this outside of the U.S. It's a game that comes from, Israel, where it's just catch and throw, and that's how they teach volleyball over in Europe or in other areas. So I know volleyball's really hard. Volleyball is a hard sport to learn. It's a hard sport to play, but it's not impossible. There's just kind of some different ways to teach it where kids can, not even know that they're learning the game.
Yeah, I agree. So speaking of that, you said you started playing when you were 11, maybe. Besides like learning coordination and agility and all that kind of stuff, like physical ability that you learn playing at a young age, like how important it is for you to start at a young age and like learning some like lessons that the sport can teach you, such as like teamwork or communication. Like how important maybe was that for you, like growing up, besides the volleyball skills?
Yeah, definitely. It helped a lot in teamwork. I'm also a physical learner, a kinetic learner, so I have to learn by doing. So it really helped me discover just habits of working as a team, but then how I learn and communication all at once. I was very quiet as a kid, very, very quiet. So it really had to open up when we talked about, communication or cheering. I became the biggest cheerleader in college, and that is a form of communication, even though you're not on the court, being a supportive teammate, doing everything for the team, and figuring out what you can do to contribute, even if you don't touch the ball. So going from kind of learning as a player to being an all-star to being like a supportive role throughout my career, I've really learned a lot, and they've develop these skills in, teamwork and communication.
Yeah, you kind of stole my thoughts here because I was going to say the exact same thing. I think that like growing up, the main thing for me, not only playing volleyball, but playing like in teams, it was communication. I was extremely shy. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I was scared to see other people even. So playing volleyball and soccer, whatever sport I was playing, really helped me like overcome that barrier. Just like, yeah, you got to talk. You're on the court. If you don't talk, it's going to be really hard for you, for your teammates. So it's really important that communication, and feeling okay, talking and communicating with everybody. And also teamwork, like especially when I started, I was playing as a middle, so I only played like for 3 rotations. I was half of the game I was on the bench. Like, how can I help my team even when I'm not on the court? Because at the end of the day, it's never about you. It's the main goal here is for our team to be successful. So how can I forget about myself and do something to help my team? So I think growing up, those were the main like lessons that I learned. And then like after older, even like more lessons. For example, like accepting differences. Like I moved here to the US and I was in a complete different world. I didn't know anybody or anything, and just like seeing different cultures and dealing with different people, different personalities, and like accepting them and learning how to work with them and still be successful as a team, even if you have different issues and different personalities. So I think that was a big lesson for me as well after older already.
Yeah, definitely a few more things that progressed when I was older was that being open and learning from different and new people. Like I had 2 head coaches in my college career, and they taught the game very differently. So it was kind of tough to, spend 2 years really focused on one thing and then do a complete shift to another area. But we all had the same goal. We all had the same timeline. So to kind of buy in and get on board where I really want to be successful, the whole team wants to be successful, we're going to figure out how to do this together was a skill and something that I still use today. And also with like goal setting. So trying to figure out what kind of goals can I set for myself that are achievable and what are maybe too far away. So knowing kind of how to balance that knowledge of this is something I can do, this is something I can strive for, this is something I can work at, versus being very like, this is very far away. For me, like I was not going to be an Olympian, but I was going to be a really great DS and try and get on the floor there. So kind of figuring out that balance of this is what I'm capable of, this is my benchmark, but this is where I want to be, and making sure that you're doing everything in between to get there. Yeah,
that's awesome. I feel the same way. I knew I was never good enough to make it to the Olympics like our coach Nanda here, but I knew that, if I was trying to get better every single day, that's how I was going to help my team too. Like, I'm not going to get to the Olympics, but if I play better every single day, that's going to, help my team get better as well, like as a whole. Like if everybody works together and, focusing on the same goal, setting the same goal, I think at the end of the day, it's really helpful. And again, everything we do on the court, like everything we've learned in volleyball, we use today, like on our life, on our personal lives and professional lives. So I think it's really important to remember that we're talking here about volleyball and things that we learn on the courts, but everything we've been through, everything we've learned, we carry with us, like even today in our lives, and it's going to be there forever until the day we die.
Yeah, and I think that experience kind of makes you a really great coach because you're allowed to give that perspective to your players and kind of understand what they're going through in different situations. Or maybe if you didn't experience it, you had a teammate who you were very, very close to. So you've been exposed to these different scenarios and different situations outside of just the game of volleyball, that you can help these athletes grow to be good people and have good habits and just more than just volleyball.
I completely agree. I think at the end of the day, our goal is like even thinking about the future and how we can be better people outside of the court as well. Yeah, that was great, Amy. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm sure it was really helpful for parents and players out there to know how we started and, mixing up different sports in your lives and everything.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, that was fun. Thank you, and bye.
Bye.